Allah breaks the woman He wants to turn her pain into purpose. There is a kind of breaking that does not destroy you, but rather remakes you. Imagine a woman who has been through storms so fierce that even the strongest might have crumbled. She cries in the silence of the night, when no one is watching, and her heart feels like it has shattered into 1,000 pieces. She wonders, why me? Why this pain? Why this struggle? Yet, what she doesn't see in those moments of weakness is that Allah is shaping her, molding her, and preparing her for something greater. Sometimes the cracks in her soul are not meant to weaken her, but to let the light of purpose shine through. Every test, every tear, every heartbreak can feel like the end of her world. But what if it is not the end? What if it is the beginning of a new version of her? Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. So when a woman feels like she has been broken, she must understand that Allah sees a strength inside her that she cannot yet see in herself. The pain that seems unbearable today might be the very tool that will carry her into her destiny tomorrow. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful pearls are formed? They are created from irritation, from struggle, from something that at first feels like a wound. But in time, that wound becomes a jewel of priceless worth. This is what Allah does with the heart of a woman. He allows her to be broken, not to leave her shattered, but to rebuild her into a vessel of wisdom, courage, and faith. Your pain is not pointless, it is purposeful. And when Allah breaks you, it is only because He intends to remake you stronger, braver, and more beautiful than you have ever been before. Pain is preparation, because it is the process through which Allah shapes and molds the heart of a woman into something stronger and more resilient than it was before. When life feels heavy, when trials come one after another, and when everything seems to fall apart, it is easy to believe that the pain is meant to destroy. But the reality is that pain is a teacher, a refiner, and a builder. It strips away illusions, false dependencies, and weaknesses that a woman may not even realize she carries. Pain forces her to let go of what is not meant for her, teaching her that true strength does not come from the world around her, but from the one who created her. Every sleepless night, every tear, every silent prayer whispered from a heart that feels crushed under the weight of sorrow is not wasted. It is all part of the divine preparation for what lies ahead. Allah does not burden a soul beyond its capacity. So if a woman has been chosen to endure hardship, it means she has been chosen to rise above it. The very pain that she despises today may be the seed of greatness planted within her. Just as a seed must be buried in darkness before it can break open and rise into the light, a woman must sometimes be buried in trials so that her true potential can emerge. The breaking process is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Without the breaking, there is no growth. Without the tears, there is no cleansing. Without the hardship, there is no resilience. Pain becomes the tool that chisels away fear, doubt, and weakness, carving out the space where courage and faith can live. Think of a diamond. It is created under immense pressure. Think of gold, it is purified by fire. Think of the strongest trees. They grow where winds are harsh and storms are frequent. In the same way, the pain a woman faces is her preparation to stand tall, unshaken, and unwavering. What feels unbearable now may later be the reason she inspires others, the reason she understands suffering, and the reason she carries compassion and strength wherever she goes. Pain prepares her not only for her own journey, but for the lives she will touch, the hearts she will heal, and the light she will bring into a world that desperately needs it. Breaking leads to rebuilding, because when a woman reaches her lowest point, when she feels that everything has collapsed around her, it creates the opening for something entirely new to be formed within her. Often, the strongest transformation happens not when life is smooth and easy, but when it feels like everything has shattered beyond repair. In that breaking, she is stripped of the illusions of control, forced to face her vulnerabilities, and reminded that her ultimate reliance must be on Allah alone. When a heart breaks, it allows space for divine light to enter, and that light becomes the foundation of rebuilding. What once seemed like a painful ending slowly begins to reveal itself as the groundwork for a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of herself. The process of breaking is not a sign of weakness but an act of divine mercy. Sometimes Allah allows her to be broken so that she can no longer cling to what was never meant for her. The relationships, attachments, or circumstances that once defined her may need to be taken away so that her true identity, rooted in faith and inner strength, can emerge. The breaking is painful, but it clears the way for rebuilding on a foundation that will not collapse. Just as a house built on weak soil must sometimes be torn down to rebuild on solid ground, so too must a woman's heart undergo breaking, so that she can rebuild her life with clarity, faith, and unwavering strength. When rebuilding begins, she does not rise as the same person she once was. She carries scars, but those scars are not signs of defeat, they are signs of survival. They remind her of what she has endured, and prove that she has the resilience to rise again. The rebuilding stage often brings wisdom, patience, and empathy that she may never have known had she not been broken first. It teaches her to appreciate the smallest blessings, to understand the struggles of others, and to use her experience as a source of guidance and strength. Rebuilding is never about returning to what she was before. It is about becoming someone stronger, someone who has been shaped by the storm, and yet still stands tall. Breaking also softens her heart, teaching her humility and surrender. In the moments of despair, when she falls to her knees in prayer, she learns that rebuilding cannot happen without Allah's help. Her reliance on Him deepens, her connection to Him strengthens, and her faith becomes her anchor. This reliance becomes the greatest tool in her rebuilding process, allowing her to stand not on her own fragile strength, but on the eternal support of the One who never abandons His servant. From brokenness emerges a rebuilt woman, who is not only stronger but more compassionate, more faithful, and more purposeful than before, because she has discovered that her true strength lies not in avoiding the break, but in allowing Allah to rebuild her from it. Her scars become strength, because they are living proof that a woman has walked through storms and survived battles that once seemed impossible to overcome. Every scar tells a story, a silent reminder of the nights she cried herself to sleep, the days she felt like giving up, and the moment she thought her heart could not endure another blow. Yet here she stands, carrying those marks not as symbols of weakness, but as evidence that she was tested, she was broken, and she rose again. Scars do not make her less beautiful, they make her more authentic. They carry the history of her resilience, showing that although pain left its imprint, it could not destroy her spirit. A scar means the wound has healed, and what once broken has now become a testament of endurance. Many people try to hide their scars, thinking they make them appear fragile or flawed. But the truth is the opposite. Scars are a sign that healing has taken place, that a woman has endured something powerful and come out the other side. They are a badge of honor, proof that she did not let her pain define her, but instead used it as a stepping stone toward growth. When others see only brokenness, Allah sees strength. Every scar is a lesson carved into her soul, a mark of wisdom that cannot be gained through ease or comfort. Without scars there is no depth, no story, no testimony of faith. Scars transform suffering into strength, turning wounds into wisdom that shapes the way she lives, speaks, and uplifts others. Scars also serve as reminders that even in the hardest moments, she was never alone. Each healed wound carries the imprint of divine mercy, a sign that Allah sustained her when she felt like collapsing. They remind her that although life struck her down, she was given the ability to rise, to stand again, and to keep walking with dignity. These scars become a shield, protecting her from falling into the same traps, guiding her choices, and strengthening her against future trials. When new challenges arise, she can look at her scars and know she has survived worse before, and with Allah's help, she will overcome again. They transform into sources of courage, whispering to her heart that she is stronger than she believes and braver than she imagines. Scars are not only for her own growth, they are also a light for others who are struggling. When she shares her story, when she allows others to see the marks of her journey, she becomes a source of hope. Another woman who is in pain may look at her scars and realize that healing is possible, that survival is achievable, and that her own suffering does not have to be the end. In this way, scars create connection, reminding us that none of us are alone in our battles. They build bridges of compassion, empathy, and solidarity, empowering her to help others rise from their wounds. As well, a scar is not the end of beauty, but the beginning of power. It shows that the pain did not have the final word. It is the visible reminder that she was pressed, but not crushed, wounded, but not destroyed, broken, but rebuilt. Her scars shine as emblems of her resilience, and in them lies the undeniable truth that what was once her deepest pain has now become her greatest strength. Purpose is born in hardship, because it is in the darkest valleys of life that a woman discovers the true strength and potential hidden within her. Comfort rarely calls out greatness, and ease rarely builds character. When everything around her seems stable and predictable, she has little reason to push beyond her limits or to dig into the depths of her soul. But when hardship strikes, when the storms rage, when the losses feel unbearable, when the tears do not seem to end, this is when something extraordinary begins to awaken inside her. Pain becomes the force that pushes her to search for meaning, to rise beyond her circumstances, and to ask the deeper questions about who she is and why she was created. Hardship strips away the surface layers of life and exposes the core of her existence, forcing her to find the purpose that was written for her by Allah long before she was even born. A woman who has never faced hardship may walk through life comfortably, but she may also remain unaware of her true potential. It is only when her world is shaken that she begins to see what lies within her heart. Trials ignite qualities she never knew she had: courage, patience, resilience, empathy, and faith. In her struggle, she learns to lean on Allah in ways she may never have done in times of ease. Every hardship becomes a classroom, teaching lessons that cannot be learned from books or words alone. These lessons mold her into a vessel of wisdom and strength, preparing her to live with purpose, to inspire others, and to walk the path designed specifically for her. Purpose does not emerge from comfort, it is carved out of difficulty. Diamonds are not created without pressure, gold is not purified without fire, and the strongest trees do not grow without enduring countless storms. In the same way, a woman's destiny is shaped by the trials she endures, every loss she suffers, every rejection she faces, and every heartbreak she survives are all tools in the hands of the Creator, chiseling away what does not belong and shaping her into who she was meant to become. What feels like breaking is often building. What feels like an ending is often the beginning of a journey toward deeper meaning. Hardship is not a detour from her purpose, it is the very road that leads her directly to it. Through hardship, a woman gains empathy and compassion. She understands the pain of others because she has walked through her own valleys of sorrow. This makes her capable of lifting others, of becoming a voice for the voiceless, of serving as a source of hope for those who feel hopeless. Her purpose is no longer about herself alone, but about the lives she can touch, the hearts she can heal, and the strength she can lend to those who have not yet found their own. Her pain gives her a mission greater than herself, and her scars become the language through which she speaks to others who are still in their struggle. Hardship also forces her to rely not on temporary things, but on eternal truths. When everything is taken from her, she realizes that the only unshakable foundation is Allah. This surrender transforms her pain into purpose, because when she places her trust in Him, she stops seeing hardship as destruction and begins to see it as direction. Every trial is a signpost guiding her toward the life she was meant to live, the people she was meant to impact, and the legacy she was meant to leave behind. What once felt unbearable becomes the very evidence that she was chosen for something greater, that her struggle is not meaningless but filled with divine wisdom. Purpose born in hardship is the kind of purpose that cannot be taken away, because it is not built on shallow desires or worldly gain. It is built on faiths and resilience. It is born from nights of crying, days of perseverance, and moments of surrender to Allah's will. It is unshakable because it is rooted in struggle, and it is powerful because it carries the weight of survival. A woman who discovers her purpose in hardship becomes unstoppable, because she knows that pain did not break her, it built her, and through that building, she now carries a mission that is greater than anything she could have imagined. Faith turns pain into power, because it transforms what feels unbearable into the very fuel that drives a woman forward with strength, courage, and resilience. Pain on its own can feel heavy, suffocating, and impossible to bear. It can crush the spirit, steal the will to rise, and make the heart feel hollow. But when pain is carried with faith, it takes on a new meaning. Faith allows her to see beyond the immediate moment, to believe that there is wisdom hidden in her suffering, and to trust with Allah does not test without a purpose. Instead of seeing pain as punishment, she begins to see it as preparation. Instead of seeing it as a sign of weakness, she begins to recognize it as an opportunity for growth. With faith, every tear becomes a prayer, every heartbreak becomes a lesson, and every trial becomes a stepping stone toward her destiny. Faith changes the way a woman views her struggles. Without faith, pain seems random, cruel, and meaningless. But with faith, she learns to see hardship as a message from her Creator, a reminder that He is near, and that through the struggle, He is shaping her into someone stronger and more purposeful. Faith whispers to her heart that nothing she endures is wasted, that every sleepless night and every aching wound is part of a divine plan that is far greater than what she can understand in the moment. This belief alone gives her strength. It lifts her when she feels like falling, it steadies her when she feels like breaking, and it empowers her to keep walking even when the path ahead seems dark and uncertain. Faith also transforms her relationship with pain by teaching her patience and perseverance. It gives her the courage to endure without bitterness, and the strength to trust the process of healing. When she places her trust in Allah, she no longer feels the need to carry the weight of her suffering alone. She learns to surrender, to lay her burdens at His feet, and to trust that He will replace what was lost with something better. This act of surrender does not make her weaker, it makes her unshakable. It gives her peace in the middle of chaos and hope in the middle of despair. Faith builds in her a resilience that no amount of pain can destroy, because she knows her strength does not come from herself, but from the One who sustains her. Through faith, pain becomes a source of empowerment, not just for her own journey but for the lives of others. A woman who has endured suffering with faith becomes a beacon of hope to those who are struggling. Her scars become testimonies of survival, and her story becomes a map for others who feel lost in their own darkness. Faith gives her the courage to speak her truth, to use her experiences to uplift others, and to remind them that even in the hardest of times, Allah's mercy is never absent. She becomes a living example that pain is not the end of the story, but the beginning of transformation. And that power is found not in avoiding hardship, but in facing it with faith. Faith turns pain into power, by redirecting her focus from what she has lost to what she has gained. Instead of dwelling on the doors that closed, she begins to see the doors that opened. Instead of fixating on the wounds, she learns to cherish the lessons. Faith allows her to take what was meant to break her and turn it into a platform of strength. Her pain becomes the reason she prays more deeply, trusts more fully, and walks with greater humility. It fuels her determination to rise again and again, no matter how many times life tries to push her down. This transformation is not one that the world gives, it is one that only faith in Allah can provide. When faith leads the way, pain no longer defines her, it refines her. It sharpens her character, deepens her wisdom, and strengthens her heart. Every challenge becomes a tool, every loss a lesson, and every hardship a doorway to greater purpose. With faith, she learns that her suffering is not a sign of weakness, but a mark of being chosen for something greater. Her power does not come from avoiding pain but from walking through it hand in hand with her Creator. She rises, not because the pain disappeared, but because her faith transformed it into strength, courage, and a purpose that nothing in this world can take away.